Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this Lenovo IdeaPad 5. Let's see, 15ITL05. Alright, so this one is quite a bit tricky. I've actually already done a bit of the disassembly, so it's going to be a little bit easier than what you'll see. But here you can see the screen is smashed right there, okay? You can see the screen is all broken. So I'm going to show how to fix this. So what happened with this screen was the hinge was actually coming away from the screen, and that caused this to crack here. And then when we were pulling this frame out, the crack actually spread across. So we're going to show you how to replace the LCD panel. I already actually took this apart to fix the hinges in advance. I used some JB Weld to hold the hinges down in place. But I put everything else back together, so I'll show you how to get this apart. So we're going to need a T5 Torx 5 screwdriver, and then we'll most likely need a JIS1 or PH1 screwdriver, possibly also a JIS0 or PH0, but we'll get there when we get there. Alright, so let's first remove all the T5 Torx 5 screws. You want to keep them all in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like that on my desk. In the pattern I remove them. So here you can see there's 3 going across back here, and then you got the 2 out here, and then you got 4 going around across the bottom. So that's how I keep track of them. I'll put 3 like that, and then we'll do the rest. If this video helps you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to upgrade or repair their devices. If it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel so that I can continue making these videos for a living. This is a customer's computer, as are most of my other videos. So if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them, but most of the time, make sure to watch the video first before asking questions, because sometimes I'll take out the RAM, and then people go, what type of RAM is it? And I'll like explain which type of RAM, or they'll ask what type of SSD, things like that. So I make these videos so that hopefully people can learn, and hopefully people aren't just using it as like an encyclopedia lookup to ask me to go through watch my own video or go through my brain and try and figure out. So hopefully if you can't find the answer in the video, then I'll be glad to help, but please don't make it to where I have to do a bunch more work looking up a bunch of stuff that's already answered in the video. Alright, so there we go. Got all those screws out. Next we're going to remove this bottom cover. So let's see, we're going to try with a suction cup. So I'm going to pull here, I'm going to hold this down and see if we can pull that up. And no, it's holding pretty strong. Let's try from the back with our fingers. These are holding pretty strong as well. Alright, let's try from the front then. And that's kind of working. So I'm going to try from the front. Yep. Alright, so going from the front, I'm using my fingernails to hold down the edge here and then pulling the cover up. If you want, you can use pry tools to kind of hold this down as well, but there you go. You probably could, as you can see, it clicks into place. Probably could also get your fingernails in here and then push with your thumb. Oh yeah, that works. So you can also push with your thumb on the palm rest. Don't push on the trackpad because you don't want to push that out and damage it. Alright, so there we go. Oop, let me turn this back off. I don't like how this laptop turns itself on. I mean, I guess it's good if you break the power button, then you have a way to turn it on without it. But yeah, it's kind of annoying when I'm trying to work on this computer. So anyways, as you can see, we're popping this all up. We're going to go around the sides now and continue doing the same. And there you can see it comes out pretty easily. No suction cup required. Just using my fingernails along in the gap and then flexing the thing outwards just like that. Okay. Again, you don't want to push on like the keyboard and trackpad and stuff, so you want to be careful when you get towards the center. Alright, so here we go. We already got most of it out. Let's work our way over here now. Okay, same thing. I'm just getting my fingernails in the little gap and then kind of pulling it up. Again, you can use pry tools to do this. Alright, so let's continue working our way over. Same thing, just get our fingernail in the gap as we kind of pull the cover up, and here you can see that's popping up nicely. Alright, let's see here. Let's go over here and pop this up. There we go. Alright, I'm just getting my fingernail in these little gaps here as I kind of pull it, and there we go. We got most, I think the cover's out already. It's a little bit caught on something here, so I think there's some clips actually in the center. Yeah, okay. So let's see how we're gonna unleash that. Oops, I accidentally clipped back in these. So let's get that out. Oh, and there we go. So it looks like that came out. We kind of just wiggled it as we kind of pulled it. And there we go. Bottom cover's off. The reason why we needed to remove that cover was to disconnect the battery in here. Because if you work on it with the battery connected, you can cause some damage to the computer, mainly the screen. All right, and you don't want to do that. All right, so I'm going to switch to the PH1 or JAS1 screwdriver, and we're going to remove the screws holding the battery in place. The battery model number, if you need it, is right here, L19. All right, I don't know if you can see that, L19D3PF3. All right, so that's the model number of the battery. Let's go ahead and continue removing all the screws. Again, keep them all in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths, and if you mix up the screws, you can damage your computer. All right, so there we go. So there's 2 on this side as well. All right, I think that's all the screws for the battery. Once you do that, we're gonna lift this battery up here. Okay, you want to be very careful. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. Okay, so we're going to lift the battery up. Okay, and then we're going to slightly pull it back. If you can, get your fingernail or something here, and we're going to use that to push on the, let's see, is there a raised plastic lip? Kind of. Okay, so I'm going to use my fingernail to kind of work this plastic clip. As you can see, I'm kind of just moving my fingernail around, left, right, left, right. That's kind of to wiggle the connector out of place, okay? And we want to make sure to get that out. So just kind of do that, slowly wiggle it, and as you can see, the connector is slowly coming out, and there we go. All right, so we got the battery out. Once you get the battery out, it's always a good idea to open up the computer. Do this slowly and gently so you don't break the hinges. And then press and hold the power button for 15 seconds to drain any residual power. 15 seconds or longer. 10 seconds is probably fine as well, but 15 seconds just to be safe. All right. And this drains any residual power from like the capacitors and things on the motherboard, so that way when we remove the screen, there's a lot less risk of damaging anything inside. All right, so that should be good. Let's go over the components we see inside here. So it looks like it has, okay, I guess they don't have the connector for this. So they actually have a spot for a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive, but it doesn't come with the connector. The thing will connect to this little port here, so they're not using this. But yeah, if you wanted to add a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive, it looks like they have a slot. They are using a M.2, let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to see what it is, so if it's going out of view. It's an M.2. They don't say, okay, it is an NVMe. So this is a PCIe NVMe. You can actually remove this metal thing and use the full-sized M.2 PCIe NVMe. It's a much longer RAM. But yeah, you will have to remove this bracket and take it out. There's just the one screw here holding that. And that is also a PH1 JAS1 screwdriver. So I'm not going to pull everything out. If you're not sure how to remove these, you can watch some of my other videos. I show how to do it. Basically, the screw, you pull it up, it comes out slightly at an angle, and then you pull it back. All right, you got the wireless card here, connector for the fan right there. You got this connector, which goes all the way up here, and I'm assuming that's for the fingerprint sensor. That's part of the power button, so probably this for the power button as well as the fingerprint sensor. Then you got the keyboard backlight connector, keyboard connector. This is most likely the trackpad connector, which is underneath this plastic stuff. I don't want to rip stuff out because the only issue they have is their screen. So I don't want to risk making things worse. So you got these connectors here. So this is most likely the LCD LVDS connector. And then this goes in as part of this cable. And I believe this is for the camera. So I'm not 100% sure, but it could also be for the touchscreen. All right, then you got the speaker connector here for the speaker. CPU is soldered to the motherboard, so you can't remove the CPU. All right, fan right here, of course. There's 3 screws. I don't want to try taking it out, but you might be able to take it out without taking the whole motherboard out, or at the very least, if you want, you can take out the heatsink. But if you do that, you want to redo the thermal paste, right? You got the BIOS, CMOS, or RTC real-time clock battery here. So if you need to reset the BIOS for some reason, you can pull this connector out. Again, if you don't know how, I have a bunch of videos showing how to do all these kinds of things. Then you got this cable here that's for all these USB ports, SD card slot, the one key recovery hole. So this is a recovery button. You can use a little needle to push that and it goes into recovery mode, or you can access the BIOS and everything that way. All right, and of course the wireless antennas are going up there into the screen. Okay, so anyways, all we needed to open this up for was to remove the battery and then hold the power button to drain it. So now we're going to go ahead and close this up just so it's safer to work on. It's always a good idea. As you can see, the hinges have these screws going into it on both sides. All right, so we're gonna put those screws back in temporarily just to make it safer to work on. So I'm gonna zoom out a little bit again. Let's go ahead and pop this back in, at least the back side, okay? Okay, so we're gonna pop that in. If you want, you can leave the rest of it unclicked. We are going to have to take it back out in the end anyways, so. All right, let's go ahead and put back those screws for the hinges. These are the longer screws towards the back. All right. Okay, and this screen is pretty tricky to remove. So if you're going to remove this, keep that in mind. I already removed a bunch of the stuff, so it's actually going to be a lot easier. But I'll show you. All right, so I'm actually going to have to go get some double stick adhesive that I left in my backpack. So, but first we'll do this. All right, so the frame here, it'll actually have some double stick adhesive in it underneath. So when you pull this frame up, keep that in mind. It's going to be difficult to pull this up. If your screen is working perfectly fine, I highly recommend against trying this because there's a good chance you'll damage your screen. If you have to take it out to fix the hinge, then you might want to check if you'd be willing to replace the screen first. So watch through this whole video. All right, so to remove the frame, it's just like most of the others with this plastic bezel. You basically lift the inside slightly up and then you push the whole bezel in towards the center. But again, there is going to be some adhesive on this. I did remove it already, so it's going to be a lot easier. So as you see, I'll lift it up from the center and then I'll push the bezel in to the middle. All right, so there we go, and here you can see it's popping out really easily. So it's hard to show this in camera because I have to hold it at a weird angle. I'm not used to laying the thing down on my desk while I do this. So basically just go ahead and keep doing that. All right, let's go up towards this side, same thing, lift the middle up, and then you want to push the plastic in towards the center. Let me actually rotate it to make it a little easier for me to do this. Okay, so lift up that, and then you kind of push it towards the center. So just like that. Oops, I clicked the other one down. The corners are quite a bit trickier, just because it's on like both sides at the same time. Again, this is hard to show on camera, but hopefully you guys will get the point. All right, so we're pulling that, and there we go. We got that, and we're gonna just keep working our way over. Again, I'm gonna pull the middle or the inside out while I'm kind of pulling it down. So as you get further over, you can kind of grab this and you can pull it down towards the center, and that helps you release it. So just like this. Again, normally there would be adhesive all along under here. It's not necessary, so there's no point putting the adhesive back unless you just want the adhesive there. But there's no point having the adhesive there with the frame. Okay, so we got the top and the sides of this thing out already. So here you can see. All right, we're just going to continue working our way down here. All right, so we're just going to pull this up. And the clips from down here, they're like on the other side. They'll come out as well. So you just pull this forward here like that. Okay, again, it's a little tricky. You want to pull it forward, but at the same time, pull this up towards the center. All right, sometimes you can't really see what I'm doing, but hopefully you guys get the idea. Okay, so here you can see we're kind of pulling this up. All right, so now that you got all of this hinge bezel loose, you do have to try and get a tool here. If you can't get your finger to do this, to lift it out, you might want to use like a screwdriver or something to get under there, and then you can lift it out like that. All right, once you get that lifted out, you can actually lift the whole thing out, and here you go. We got the plastic bezel. Again, I did have to repair the hinge, so I used some JB Weld here, and because of that, we can't put back the original adhesive. I actually made other videos with this same exact model. I think I showed one how to remove this adhesive, but basically you'd have to remove all these screws. Once you remove those screws, you can actually separate this back frame from the thing slightly, like you can lift it slightly away. And then underneath, there's actually one of those stretch pull kind of adhesives. I'll show you an example. So I have some of that kind of adhesive over here. Let me show you. So the adhesive is basically like this kind of thing. It's not exactly this one, but it'll look like this. And then there's this plastic tab that doesn't have any stickiness to it. But basically this kind of adhesive, it sticks pretty strong, but as you stretch it, as you can see, it releases the adhesive. So basically this kind of adhesive, you want to pull it straight back. All right, you can't just pull it up, you have to pull it straight to where it stretches the adhesive. If it's like caught underneath and you pull it up like this, it's not going to stretch the adhesive. You have to pull it straight back this way, so that way it stretches out underneath, and that will release that adhesive. Okay, so that's why you have to undo all these screws here, and then what you want to do, you have to have it up on its side like this, and then you can actually separate the hinge from the you can separate the hinge from this back plate, and you can actually pull that tab through this gap here and just pull it straight back the same parallel to this back plate. All right, so anyways, once you remove those two adhesive tabs from both sides, then you can actually drop the screen forward. So the screen will actually fall out pretty easily. So as you can see, I just pulled it forward, and then you can actually let it drop forward like this. So the screen model number, if you need that, you might want to confirm that yours is the same, but the screen model number for this one, let's see, where is it here? The screen model number for this is kind of difficult to get because they put some weird stuff. So it's actually this, R156NWF7. So there you go, R156NWF7, R2, hardware 1.3. All right, so that's the screen model number that you want. Okay, and this is a special screen. It's hard to find. I ended up finding it on AliExpress for a bit cheaper than eBay, but again, this is because it's not a very common screen, at least at the time of checking, it's very expensive. All right, anyways, once we get that, there's a tab here. Let me zoom in. Okay, so there's this little flip latch. Sorry, I know it's not focusing well. Let's see, can I focus on it? It's not focusing right for some reason. Maybe with my hand there? No? There we go. Okay, so there's this little flip latch. You have to flip that up. All right, once you flip this metal latch up, then you can grab that with both fingers or both hands, and then you can pull the latch out, and there you go. That's how you remove this screen, and it's at a weird position for me to do this, so yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing before. There's these little plastic pieces here, so if your hinge actually broke, you're gonna have to remove those as well. So to do that, you actually want the screen to be up almost 90 degrees. All right, and this, you can actually pull this forward. All right, these latches, and you can see you can actually pull this little plastic piece out. So this plastic piece it's purely cosmetic, so there's no need to have this plastic here. If for some reason you lose it or it's broken, don't worry about putting this back. It's not really a big deal. It doesn't really even do anything except for hide that little gap down there. That there's nothing even under there. There's no cables, there's nothing. So it's purely cosmetic, and yeah, it doesn't really serve much function. It does go on top of the hinge a little bit, so I guess it does hold it a tiny bit, but not really. Like this thing, you saw how easy it was to pop that out. Anyways, I'm gonna put that back in. All right, and the same thing is on both sides. You can see you can actually clip this in. Sorry, it's hard to get this in a good position to do it. But anyways, I hold the bottom down and then I just clip in the top just like that. And if you're doing the epoxy thing, as you can see, if you put too much epoxy, then it will be in the way and you won't be able to clip this down. But the bezel also helps hold the top half there. As you can see, it kind of has this little lip here. But yeah, so again, not important. It's just cosmetic. But if you really want it, then you can put it. All right, so anyways, yeah, so this model, it's actually a bad design. I've actually had to fix the hinge on 2 of these within like a week or 2. So keep that in mind. Most likely your hinge is going to be broken or break soon too. So here you can see I filled the entire like edge with JB Weld. You don't want to use some random glue. JB Weld is very strong. If you use something else, it's likely going to break very easily. So yeah, if you find something stronger, let me know. But so far, I haven't found anything that held better than that. I've tried a few other things before, and they broke very easily. So that's why I use JB Weld now. All right, so anyways, I need to get the double stick adhesive again because there used to be the adhesive strips. Oops, let's zoom out here. So there used to be the adhesive strips that run all the way along here and then go underneath the hinge. So now I'm just going to put a little adhesive here, a little adhesive here, and on all 4 corners, and that will hopefully be enough to hold the entire screen in place. The bezel kind of holds it, so it's not really that important, but we'll just put a little tape there just so in case something happens and the bezel pops out, it'll hold itself. All right, let me get the tape and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So I got some acrylic double stick adhesive. I'm going to rotate this just so it's easier for me to work on. Work on it whichever way is easier for you, but to show it on camera, I kind of have to do these weird maneuver positions. All right, so anyways, I'm going to cut some of this tape. And of course, you also want to test the computer before you stick it down. So this adhesive, once you stick it down, you're most likely not going to be able to pull the screen back out without damaging it. So it's very important that you actually test the thing first, all right? So I'm going to cut the adhesive like this. And we're just going to get 4 small squares. We don't really need, again, we don't need that much. So we're going to take this adhesive and we're going to stick one piece here. Okay, stick the other piece down here. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with the other piece. Alright, stick one piece at the top here, one piece at the bottom here. Alright, and because the adhesive is going to be difficult to remove, of course we need to test the screen before we put it all back together. Okay, so let me put the adhesive away. Okay, so now we're going to flip this back up. Okay, I'm going to zoom in again. So now I'm kind of holding it upside down compared to before. We're going to get the replacement screen. Have it like that. Okay, we've got the cable here. All right, there isn't too much slack, so you want to be careful with this. You want to actually get the screen positioned in a way that it will line up with the cable instead of trying to pull the cable to it. All right, once you get it lined up and the corners are underneath the latch or whatever, the slot, then you can go ahead and use both sides to kind of pull it in. There we go. Once you get the connector all the way in, flip that latch back down. All right, and then we're gonna flip the screen back up temporarily for now. Again, we're not undoing the adhesive yet, so we left the protective coating on the other edge of the on the other end of the adhesive. All right, now we're gonna actually close this up. We're gonna take these 2 screws back out so that we can put the battery back in, and then we're going to test the computer. All right, so we're gonna take those 2 screws back out. All right, and then let's go ahead and unclip this again. Oh, it's kind of going to be difficult. All right, so let's see here. Again, you want to be careful because the screen isn't secured down anymore. We're going to work our way over. All right, working our way over. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the other side. Same thing. Let's go ahead and pop this up. Wiggle that around and the center clip's released. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get the battery back in. All right, battery goes in, get it lined up. Make sure if you're replacing the battery that the black cables are over to the wireless card side and the SSD, and the red cables are over towards the keyboard connector. All right, sometimes the connectors will come rotated for some reason. All right, now that we got the connector in, oops, let's zoom in. Okay, now I like to pinch the connector into the socket, just like that. There we go. Get the battery lined up. Okay, and then we'll put back all the screws for the battery. Make sure to switch back to the PH1 or JS1 screwdriver. Excuse me. I think it's like 2 a.m. right now, but gotta do what I gotta do. All right, let's get all these screws for the battery back in. Now that the battery's in, the circuit is live, so you do want to be careful not to accidentally drop anything metal. Not that you wanted to do that anyways. So you want to be extra careful. All right. If you're wondering where the RAM is soldered to the motherboard. It's not replaceable unless there's a stick of RAM underneath, but again, I'm not going to take the motherboard out. I'm thinking the RAM is underneath this metal plate in little memory chips. All right, so we got the battery screws back in. Let's go ahead and put the bottom cover back on. All right, this one's pretty clean inside, but let me actually get a little of those little crumbs out that are stuck to it. All right, let's go ahead and flip this back over. Get it all lined up. You can click it all back in. All right, if you want to be extra cautious, you can just put in the hinge screws again just to make sure in case we have to take it apart again. But most likely we should be good. It was packed pretty well, but we'll find out. All right, so we got the 2 hinge screws back in. Make sure they're good, nice and tight. All right, so now we're going to be careful with the screen because the screen isn't secured. So make sure that whichever way you're opening this, the screen isn't just going to fall. All right, so we're going to carefully open this. You can see there's more dust. All right, let's see if it'll turn on without plugging it back in. So it's blinking. That's a good sign. And there you go. You can see the Lenovo. And you can see everything looks good. Of course, you want to test the touchscreen as well. It looks like it's good. I'm going to shut it back down and we should be good to go. Oh, the brightness was also a little dim, but the battery is very low on here. But you might want to test that as well. Let me see if I can actually test that right now, if I can adjust the brightness. The brightness actually went brighter right now. It might just be because now there's more light, but let's see. Yeah, so we can adjust the brightness just fine. All right, so there we go. Now, if you want, just test the touchscreen. Everything looks good. Okay, so now that we got that, we're going to undo the adhesive. Oh, okay, your fingerprint couldn't be recognized. That's fine. But is it shutting down or not? Shut down. Please shut down. There we go. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to flip the screen back forward. Okay. Again, you want to be very careful with this. The screen is really expensive, so we don't want to damage this. All right. I mean, even if it was cheap, you don't want to damage it. But all right, so now let's go ahead and peel off these little red protective things on our double stick adhesive. I mean, whatever double stick adhesive you use, that's what you use. So yours might not have red, it might be white or whatever color. But just peel off those protective tabs. All right, got the ones at the top here too. Okay. All right, so we got all that out. Those things kind of stick to me. All right, so now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna flip it this way so you can see better. All right, and you wanna be very careful putting the screen back into place to make sure that it's completely lined up before you drop it into place, because otherwise you won't be able to readjust it. Okay, so the screen actually goes all the way to the edge here. Let's actually test and turn it back on again. All right, looks good. Okay, so we're going to slowly drop it in. Make sure you don't accidentally drop this tab into there. Okay, and then we're going to drop the screen into place. There we go. All right, now I'm going to have to shut this down again so it doesn't show the username. I don't know if the customer will care or not, but okay. And now I'm just actually pushing it in place so that it sticks to the adhesive. And then let me shut this down again. Okay, so it's shutting down right now. Again, you want to make sure that it sticks to the adhesive, so do that. Though, again, like I was saying, the adhesive isn't really necessary, but yeah. All right, there we go, it shut down. Now we can go ahead and peel off the protective coating here. Okay, and you want to roll this back. You don't want to pull it straight towards yourself, because then it can pull the screen layers forward, and you don't want to do that. All right, there we go. So we got the protective coating off. Now we're going to get the bezel and put this back on. When you put the bezel back on, you do want to make sure that the screen is opened all the way, actually. All right, so open that all the way. And then we're going to take the bezel, and then we have to get this blue piece on first. Make sure that these cables aren't getting smashed by the blue part. You don't want to trap that and then cut those cables. So you want to be careful and make sure it's going over it easily, just like this. Right, battery's only 8% left now. Okay, and then to snap it back in, you're basically same thing, somewhat lifting up the center and then pushing this in. The way I do that is I kind of just like rotate my thumb kind of over it. I kind of make it look easy, but that's essentially what's happening is you're making the middle kind of lift up slightly as you push down. So basically push towards the outside edge, and that should cause it to help rotate in on itself. All right, so just like that. Okay, and go all the way down. Okay, and just work your way all the way down. And then to get this part in, you want to keep pressure on the back here, and then you push on here. All right, so make sure you have pressure on the back, because you don't want to just push the screen all the way like backwards. The other thing you can do is you can lay the screen completely flat on the desk, so that way it has good solid pressure on the back. And there we go, just push all those clips in. All right, should be good. Slowly close the screen. All right, and then you'll see this part is not snapped in. So to do that, you might have to push down somewhat on here as you kind of pull this in. Okay, so here you can see it doesn't want to go. So you kind of have to push down there. If it doesn't work, you can try going from the other side. It also helps to kind of pull this up slightly so that it can clear this plastic part that sticks out. But yeah, this is somewhat difficult. Let me see here. And then actually this one didn't snap in all the way, that little piece here. So let me snap that down. There we go. Okay, so let's get that. There we go. And once you get it going, then it's easy to kind of just work your way all the way over. And now it's all snapped in. All right, so let's go ahead now and snap the rest of this cover back into place. Just go ahead and work your way around. Get all the clips back into place. Again, we already did the screws for the hinges here, but you can double check, make sure they're tightened all the way. Good. All right, and now let's go ahead and put back the remaining screws. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped you guys. After you replace the screen, it's always a good idea to click the restart one time instead of doing a shutdown, because that resets the system files. And sometimes if you don't do that, the computer will have issues. So keep that in mind. It's always a good idea after replacing some major components to do a restart instead of a shutdown. Because in Windows 10, when you do a shutdown, it could be doing like a fast startup or hybrid sleep kind of shutdown, and that doesn't allow the system files to recognize the new hardware properly. Right, but anyways, if this video helped you, again, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. All right, let's drop this. Bye.